about a Patriots-Saints Super Bowl with two of the best quarterbacks of their eras. And Breeze this year, I know he's 39, and I have a well-documented history of being skeptical of older quarterbacks. However, Drew Brees this year was above his career average in completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdown to interception ratio, and quarterback rating. He set the all-time NFL record for completion percentage this year, right? Like, I mean, he's showing no drop-off.
So the question is, what do the 40-year-olds, Drew Brees, soon to be 40, and Tom Brady, don't have to answer now? What do they have to do for you to change?
They might have already done it. That might be the answer. The answer might have been what I saw from 40-year-old Tom Brady this year and 39-year-old Drew Brees this year. Right. Now there is a history of it. There had been no history of quarterbacks that age being successful. Now there's a history of two guys doing it, plus Brady last year. So my opinion might have already changed.
Next year, we're really going to mess with him with 50-year-old quarterbacks. And then we'll start this all over
It may have changed already. New information, you've changed your opinion.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's something I've been trying to teach CC for 6 months now.
Speaking of 40-year-old quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do, change mine.
Moving on to Tom Brady, who spent his time last week answering questions about his banged-up thumb, then went out and beat the Jags. This week, he will apparently spend his time answering questions about his banged-up thumb, so he can hopefully go out and beat the Birds. But that's what happens when you're limited in practice leading up to the Super Bowl, because you've got one hand in your pocket and the other one's giving a high five. Limited practice for Brady seems to indicate that hand injury still hasn't gone away. Stink, Alanis Morissette reference. Nobody laughed. I get that.
I got it.
I know you didn't.
So
because I didn't wrap it out. I just said it straight. Do we have any reason to worry here about Tom Brady's hand?
Well, first off, you were incorrect in your lead-in because he didn't spend any time answering the question. He spent a bunch of time avoiding the question.
Right.
He was being asked the question. He did not answer the question. No, I mean, here's the deal. You got 2 weeks between the Super Bowl. I mean, I would expect him to play at this point. I would expect him to take a little bit of time and to roll into that. So that's not a concern whatsoever. The hand's not going to be a concern. If he played last week, he'll be fine. Come Super Bowl week, he'll get the stitches out. I think that's a non-issue. The thumb is going to be a non-issue.
It would be an issue if it was the Bud Grant Vikings. If they were playing in Met Stadium outside. All right? Like if it was sub-zero. Like it might be an issue as far as overall feeling. But no, what he did last week, no, of course it's not going to be an issue. Also, Tom Brady and his dealings with the Super Bowl and their media, he's going to be able to handle that better because he's got so much experience at it. What he did last week should be evidence enough. But we, as broadcasters, journalists, we will continue to ask the question. He should have proven a lot of his doubters wrong after last week's performance.
And you're not concerned about the limited practice, because usually he's a big practice guy. So the fact that he wasn't 100%.
No, there were a bunch of guys that were limited yesterday.
It's the added part because it's the week off. Like if the game were Sunday and he's limited in practice on Thursday,
I still wouldn't be concerned.
No,
he was limited last week and carved him up.
Right, but last week that is what for you raised some alarm bells for you was because he wasn't practicing.
Yeah, Tom Brady went for a handoff. He's got 15 stitches in his hands. Yeah, alarm. Five alarm. Get out the house.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
And so the point that I was trying to make is that if the game were Sunday, he wouldn't have been as limited in practice. I don't believe. I think this was extra precautionary.
What you're doing right now is you're managing your roster.
Right.
That's what you're doing. And you're saying, hey, listen, how important is practice this week when we're going to go through the whole thing? So you'll put your game plan in. You put your game, and you'll work on it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then you'll take it to the Super Bowl, and you'll do the same exact reps, the same exact game plan Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So now you're juggling, or you're looking at the juxtaposition of how important is practice and going through it this week versus rest and getting our guys well. And you're looking at guys like me. This week I wouldn't have practiced, or I'd have taken very limited reps. Hey, we need you on this particular blitz. Hey, Stink, we need you to run this particular play action fake that we want to run.
Yes.
But these are every day it may be 3 or 4 plays. I want you in this play. I want you in this play. My O-line coach said this play, this play, this play. The rest of the week we want you to get your legs right because when we hit Super Bowl site, we want you humming and we want you to ready to play. And so right now it's this battle of attrition that is the National Football League season, and they got guys beat up, and you want to give them some rest, especially your older players. You want to give them, you got to get their legs fresh.
But I do think this is an opportunity for us to revisit exactly what happened this last Sunday, because Chris, you brought it up Monday, and then there's a lot of things going on. There's new stories, there's all this NBA drama, and I don't really know if it got the full attention it deserved, which was, and it's odd to say, but the extreme unique pressure Brady particularly was under on Sunday, because Wednesday, he's going for a handoff, as you mentioned, cuts his hand open. It ends up with, what, 12, 15 stitches in his throwing hand.
Yes.
There is the story surrounding the team that the reason they don't have the best backup quarterback in the league is because Brady didn't want him there. Enough to which the owner, before the game, says, we're going to be fine as long as everyone's ego is in check. If during that football game Brady had played terribly, or if during that football game that the tape hadn't held and all of a sudden the stitches bust open and Brian Hoyer's out there taking snaps, think about what we were talking about Monday. Is this the greatest athlete in the history of athletes? Obviously the greatest quarterback ever. Maybe the greatest football player. That was discussion Monday. If this goes the other way for him, it's not only a reuniting him, that discussion. We're talking about, wait, did Brady's ego cost the Pats a chance to go to another Super Bowl? Brady a chance to win another one? And the pressure that was almost self-inflicted and then exacerbated by the injury. You mentioned it Monday. I don't think we spent enough time on it, because when you look back on it, it's really remarkable how this thing ended up turning out for him and for the team.
Yes, and the stitch, the actual injury, the stitching, you want it to harden. You don't want it to reopen. So why jeopardize, take that? It would be almost like were last week if they reopened the cut. They would have to stitch him back up, and he would have to go through the healing process again. So it doesn't make sense because one bad snap or throwing the laces, like, just let it heal. Like, he proved to us last week that the injury wasn't significant. It wasn't high enough on his thumb to affect his throwing. So, no, let it heal. Be smart about it.
Yeah, no, you have to let it heal. You have to be smart about it. And I'll tell you one thing that's really interesting to me as we go into this Super Bowl, the pressure squarely, in my mind, on the New England Patriots.
How come?
Everybody sits there and says, oh, Nick Foles. No, Nick Foles. Listen, I've played 3 Super Bowls. 2 of them we were 7, 8-point favorites. I got done with those, playing in those games. I felt nothing but relief. Like the pressure of the week being the favorite and knowing what's at stake. One with the Redskins and one with the Broncos. It was not, like, the week was fun preparing, but the game was relief.
And you guys were big underdogs in your first Super Bowl with the Broncos, right?
First Super Bowl, we were 13-point underdogs to kick off, or to start the week, 11.5 at kickoff. And that, honestly, it felt like playing on house money. It just was like, nobody expects us to be here. Nobody expects us to win. Let's go out here and shock the world and prove to them. Like, I didn't feel any pressure. I felt pure joy and just this euphoric feeling after we won that game. In a completely different mindset from those two. So to me, pressure all on the New England Patriots. This is about legacy and about history and about 8 championships, 8 times at the Super Bowl and trying to win your 6th championship. I mean, that to me is pressure. What the Eagles did, if the Eagles fly, Eagle fly, put the dog mask on, let's go out and play. I mean, it's a completely different scenario here.
Yeah, in '99 too, you got that miracle too. Atlanta ended up beating us, so you guys, you wouldn't have been no favorite.
Yeah, you know what?
Okay,
we played first, and then we got hit it to knee.
Don't go anywhere, Mark. Coming up, should the Eagles be worried about betting themselves? It's next on First and Third.
We would have put something on y'all, Stink. We would have put something on y'all with the Broncos.